delicious. I thought it was so good.
What was?
The meal?
Oh, it was good. I love that broccoli salad. So
bacon
good.
in it.
I could eat the whole
Me too.
broccoli salad.
It's just delicious.
The roast Brussels.
Hello, Ms. Perez. Did anybody have the pepper?
The what?
The pepper? You know, there's peppers on the.
I should have.
Well, I didn't grab.
Yeah.
Were they jalapenos or?
I didn't have one.
pepperoncinis?
I don't know. No, gosh, no. I just looked at them.
I show straight up 6 p.m. I'm going to call this meeting of the regular board meeting for EVIT District 401 to order. And I'd like to ask, I don't see him, I'd like to ask Mr. Fisher if he'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Mr. Fisher is not here this evening, but I believe Mr. Casaro could step in handily.
That would be just fine.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That brings us to agenda item 3, presentations and recognition, at which time I'll call on Dr. Wilson.
Mr. President, members of the governing board, each and every month we take the opportunity to recognize outstanding students in the organization. And that's kind of a bit of a misnomer because we have literally thousands of outstanding students in our organization. So it's kind of hard to whittle it down to 4 a month, but we're fortunate that we do that. And we also take an opportunity to let those who are most directly connected to the students introduce them. And so I'm going to turn it over first to Mr. Casaro from our Power Road campus, and he'll introduce the staff and they'll introduce the students, and then we'll move to Maine after that. Mr. Casaro?
Good evening, Governor Board members, members of the community. So today I'm excited to introduce two young ladies. One of them is not here yet, so hopefully she will be here in a second. So first, since we'll go in the opposite order, we'll do PM first. So our PM Student of the Month was nominated by Ms. Casey Pearsall, one of our cosmetology instructors out at Power Campus. So if Ms. Pearsall would come up and introduce her student.
Hello, I am Casey Pearsall. I teach cosmetology first year over at the Power Campus. I nominated Miss Rebecca Moen because I didn't bring anything to read because I pretty much can describe Becca pretty easily. She's one of those kids that has always been on time. Her attendance is amazing. She strives to know more and be better, asks a lot of questions. First to jump up and help anybody, including myself. First to reach out if I'm out or something's going on with me to make sure I'm okay. Just like an overall very caring person. And she will do great things in this industry. She's already lined up to shadow someone at a salon in her first year, so it's pretty amazing. And I'm very proud of her. Yeah. So it's Becca. Does she say anything?
Yes, we'd like to hear from her.
Oh, yeah?
In 5 minutes, speak. Yeah. Tell us about yourself, yeah.
She doesn't know what to say.
Where, home high school, what are some of your hobbies?
I'm at Perry High School,
Okay, very good. And you're a junior?
junior.
Very good. And what are your long-term career goals? What do you think you want to plan to do post-high school?
I'm planning on going to college, but after being in this class, I definitely want to further cosmetology jobs.
Very good.
Doesn't MCC have a new?
They do. So you're aware, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
what a great opportunity. I think that you come out of our program, get your license, and that's a year towards an associate's, and you package that up after a year and head up to ASU and major in business, and then open your own salon and be an entrepreneur. That's a good opportunity.
What you love, it's never work, right?
Mm-hmm.
At least most days.
Board members, there any questions?
Who are you?
Yes, I'd like to know who's in the audience with her. This is Mr. Watkins.
My parents are both here.
Awesome.
Well, congratulations, parents.
Thank you.
very much. Would you like, yeah, so as we're waiting for the second student, she's in the parking lot. We're going to have Ms. Kuhn do a stand-in for Mr. Fisher, who's not here tonight. So Ms. Kuhn from the main campus.
Yes, thank you. Our first teacher that's going to come up tonight has been with us for 4 years. She teaches cosmetology, and she will introduce our AM Student of the Month, Miss Lori Lloyd.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lori Lloyd. I am a cosmetology teacher here at EVIT. Very proud to say that I work here. Before I go in about my student, we always talk about how the students have such an amazing EVIT experience, and I can tell you as an instructor who has been here for 4 years, I've had nothing but amazing things happen to me since I've been here, and I'm greatly appreciative of that because I could name a list of things that are fabulous about what has happened to me since I've been here, but this is not about me. This is about this beautiful lady, Josie Carmona, and Josie has, this is her 2nd year, and she will be graduating in May, obviously. The reason that I nominated her is because she has been the captain of my class all year. She's very kind to everyone and willing to help each and every student. She has the utmost respect from everyone that she works with. She is the most requested stylist here at EVIT as a 2nd year student. She uses social media in a positive way, which I'm proud to say because we all know teenagers with social media. I'm sure everybody can relate to that. But she uses it to her benefit. So she has a client every single day that we're on the floor, which says a lot, which means she will leave with a clientele which says amazing things about her. She also goes to MCC. She is in the beauty and wellness program already. So that says that. She also has she has a full ride in college. You come to EVIT in the morning. I've seen her schedule. She carries it on her phone. She showed me one day. She knows what time she gets up, what time she studies, how long it takes for her to drive to EVIT, to her everything. So as far as I'm concerned, this woman truly deserves the Student of the Month because she is fabulous. Absolutely.
Hi, my name's Josie. So I went to Corona last year, and then with my GPA, I got a scholarship for MCC, and I got a year ahead, so I'm going to graduate in May, and then I plan on going to ASU next year. So yeah, super fun.
So you graduated from Corona last year?
Yep.
Correct? So were you with us last year as a first year, and
so
then you came back?
I was a senior for
Yeah.
my first year. Yep.
Very good. And then are you completing this year under the completer grant by chance? Do you know? Maybe you don't know. So it's a great opportunity. One of the things is we have students that come to us in their senior years or first year. They can finish the program in their 13th year.
I
So
know
that's
what you're
fantastic.
talking about. Yeah, I got the grant.
Yeah, good for you. That's a really smart way to go. Plus you're at MCC on the associate. You're going to finish a year early. Good for you.
Yeah, well, thank you.
So when are you gonna do something?
Yeah.
That is awesome stuff.
I'm like always busy, but it helps me like stay on track with everything.
Excellent.
What are you going to do at ASU? What do you want to do?
ASU, I plan on furthering the degree that they started at MCC. I'm going to further at ASU.
Okay,
They're supposed to open that next year though, so.
Very good. Yeah,
Yeah.
very good.
just wondering. Cool.
So why should somebody, what would you tell a friend or one of the kids from your, a family friend, why they should come to EVIT? Why should they
I
come
feel
to
like it opens a lot of creativity that people don't realize that they have. I mean, starting here, I feel like I have opened up a lot, but even just myself, not just with the skills I had. But I feel like even if you don't know, if you're questioning what you want to do, coming here like really realizes like what you want to do. And there's so many things here that you can do. It's not just like nursing or cosmetology school. So yeah.
Did you bring anybody here with you tonight?
No, my parents accidentally got stuck in traffic.
Oh,
so.
gosh. Well,
But
congratulations.
they're here in spirit.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Well,
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, board members, now I'm going to introduce you to Jared Bodine. He teaches our computer repair program here at EVIT. This is his 4th year, and he also started with us as a student in our radio program when he was in high school, owns his own business, and then started teaching with us 4 years ago. Jared?
and it's a pleasure to be here. Once in a rare while, do you get a student who has both the eagerness and the aptitude to match? That's a rare find that is always a pleasure to see as an instructor. So with me today is Braden Mariano. He's here with his parents, one of his siblings, grandparents as well. This student is someone who stood out quite early in the year. He is a first-year student and is easily matched or equal to that or better of many of his second-year counterparts in the program. I have a number of many challenges that sometimes if students are ahead and they're doing really well and they're caught up, I have other things they can do to keep them occupied and maybe challenge their skills. And many times during the year, Braden has come up to me and said, well, I finished this assignment, what else you got? And I'm like, all right, let's throw one at him. And so I gave him this project that I'd had for 3 years that no student, first or second year, had ever been able to accomplish. And he accomplished it in like a day. It was amazing. He came up to me with another challenge and another one, and I just kept on trying to find something that could stump him. One time, Mr. Fisher had come to us with a cell phone that belongs to his daughter that had taken quite a nasty spill. And it ended up being one of the most challenging phone repairs perhaps I have ever seen. And I think Braden would be able to attest to that. But boy, did he put in every last bit of effort one could possibly do to finally make that a successful repair when I think many other technicians would have given up much earlier. So I'm very happy to see Braden receive this honor. I think it is well deserved. So congratulations, Braden.
Currently I go to ALA in Queen Creek. I do it online though, not the preferred method. It's not that great. I'm also a phone tech. I fix phones at my job, so doing this is a lot of fun for me because I get to practice, and if I break a phone, I don't get in trouble for it. It's not that bad. Honestly, I'm just kind of like your standard nerd with like severe ADHD, so I could give you like 12 hobbies that I have that I just work on at once. Like when I like something, I just do it until I get bored of it, and then I find something else to do. I'm not 100% sure like what my plans are for the future. The hope was to go to UAT, but I guess I'll just have to see because I'm still a junior. So, yeah, any questions, I guess?
What's your plan for next year?
The hope is to take this to be a second year next year, so hopefully I'll be able to take it next year. I will probably end up doing in person at ALA, so it makes it a bigger challenge because it's like a 40-minute drive.
Correct.
From where I live. So the hope is to go back here next year.
Okay, excellent.
Very good.
Very good.
Awesome. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Okay, my turn again. So before I introduce my next teacher, I just want to say the funniest thing is when I meet with these students, they're always so nervous when they come to my office or I go to see them, like they think they're in trouble. So I'm hoping that eventually they'll not think of the principal's office as a bad thing. But so next, for our AM Student of the Month, Miss Laura McKinley nominated our student. So she's going to come up and introduce our student and tell you why she nominated her.
So I'm going to introduce Zaina Mumne. Did I get it right? Yeah. Struggle. I'm just going to read the letter that I wrote, but before I start, one thing I wanted to share that's not in my letter is the extern site that Zaina is at. She's at one of our top sites. It's a fertility clinic, and the doctor that she's shadowing was actually an EVIT student. So he, and I don't know what he took at EVIT, I need to find that out, but he always takes our students every year, and they get to do it's like kids really have to work for that spot.
What's his name?
Dr. Amos.
Was it?
Amos. A-M-O-L-S. Amos.
Okay. Just
Anyways,
curious.
here's my letter. It's short and sweet. I nominate this student for being an absolute pleasure to have in class. This student maintained perfect attendance and arrived on time every day to class all year, in hopes of being placed at this site, and it worked out for her because she got placed there. She chose to go over her spring break, which kids did not have to do, and she did 35 hours. She let me know how that went her first day. She did 30 blood draws. When they bring in a timesheet the next week, so this is her second week, and there's a spot that they can add if it's good, or the student's doing good, or something's not going so good. And first thing was exceptional student. Anyways, I couldn't agree more with them, and I know that whatever she does in her healthcare field, she'll be amazing. So, super proud of her.
Hi, my name is Zainab Mumne, and I am in my second year at EVIT East Campus in the Medical Assisting Program, and I attend Santan Charter High School. And next year, for the future, my plan is to attend CGCC on the Presidential Scholarship. And as my major, I chose pre-med, so I definitely want to further my career in the healthcare field.
I was told you were warned about me. Is that true?
Nothing bad.
Nothing bad. I just want to say that she was pre-warned. That was really good. Really good job. She was pre-warned. Don't say nursing. She'll ask you what specialty. Excellent.
Who do you have here with you tonight?
My mom and my dad, they're right over there.
Hi, Mom and Dad.
That's great. Well, thank you very, very much. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I just want to thank all the parents. I don't think we do that enough, and COVID has been hard on these students, and it's been hard on the parents. And I want to thank you for sharing your students with us, and I want to thank you for letting them come in person. I know that it was a difficult decision as a board for us to decide that, and we're glad you trusted us, and we're glad that they're here and they're doing well and they're achieving their goals. Thank you for supporting them, because without you guys, we couldn't do what we do for students.
I wholeheartedly agree. Before we move on, if there's any parents that would like to be excused, you're free at this time to leave. You're welcome to stay, but you can leave if you like. That brings us to agenda item 4, approval of the minutes of the, let's see, it was the 15th of March meeting. Do I have a motion?
Also move, Mr. Covington.
I'll second.
Do I have a second?
Second, Dave Blaine.
There was a second by Mr. Lane.
Ms. Boggs, will you call for the vote?
Yes. Lane?
Aye.
Doolin?
Aye.
Hart?
Aye.
Leatham?
Aye.
Boggs is an aye. Covington?
Aye.
Hobson? Oh,
Aye.
Hobson.
He snuck in behind you.
He snuck in.
Aye, sorry.
And Watkins?
Abstain?
All right.
Motion carries. That brings us to agenda item 5, call to the public. Dr. Wilson, do we have any public wishing to address the board?
No, sir.
Then moving on to number 7, it's a discussion item.
I believe
Number
item
six.
6.
Number 6, personnel. Looking to recommend the approval of the certified and classified personnel requests.
So moved
Do I have,
by
do I
Ms.
have a
Doolin.
motion?
Yep, so moved by Ms. Doolin.
A second?
Second?
By Boggs.
By Boggs. Ms. Boggs, will you call for the vote?
Yes.
Discussion, you need to have
Oh, yeah,
discussion.
Discussion. Is there any discussion? Thank you, by the way.
You're welcome.
Any discussion? Hearing none, now will you call for the vote?
Absolutely. Lane?
Aye.
Doolin?
Aye.
Hart?
Aye.
Leatham?
Aye.
Boggs is an aye. Covington?
Aye.
Hobson,
Aye.
and Watkins.
Aye. Motion carried. Now that brings us to 7, I believe. A discussion item, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Wilson, who will do 7A, 7B, and 7C.
Mr. President, members of the governing board, 7A, I just wanted to bring you up to date on an opportunity that we're pursuing, although after hearing the conversation of the young man taking online, maybe it's ill thought out by us. But, you know, one of the things that we have one of the things that we've realized over the past 18 months is that although I know that most students are excited about being back on campus and in-person instruction across the state and across the country, I do believe the COVID pandemic has opened up opportunities for families and students that previously may not have been considered. And by that I mean, I think there will be families and students that will opt into online learning more so than what we saw prior to COVID. That doesn't mean that we're still not going to have, you know, critical masses coming back to our campuses. But I think that the past 18 months, as challenging as they have been, also presented families with choice, and I think that choice potentially will gain steam as time goes. And online learning for students presents a bit of a challenge for us here organizationally, because oftentimes students that are participate in online learning obviously aren't at a central high school campus. They're still eligible to attend EVIT, but oftentimes either A, that's not really on their registry, or B, the issue of getting here and getting home becomes a bit problematic. So in an effort to try to be part of a solution and be a partner to our sending districts, what we're pursuing is providing space at both our Power Road campus as well as our main campus, where students that are participating in online, and it can be online from any district, so it can be Mesa Online, Scottsdale Online, Gilbert Online, any student that's participating in an online learning opportunity at their home high school, we would invite them to come here in the AM and participate in one of our programs in the AM, and then have a space for them here or at Power to go to and be able to facilitate their online learning. We will not be administering the online learning. Each of the students will be participating in their own platform from whatever school system that they're enrolled in, but we would give them a protected space with supervision for them to be able to do the online learning. And to us, there's some advantages to that, some benefits to that. One is that, like I said, I think that if that segment of learners is growing, I think it's in our advantage to look for solutions that allow those students to have the opportunity to come here. And this is one way to do that, not only by having space, but those students should, in theory, still be able to get on their home high school bus in the AM, travel here in the AM, take classes with us in the AM, then transition here or Power in the PM for classes, and then get back on the bus at the end of the PM session to go back home. So we believe that A, it gives us an opportunity to still be progressive towards capturing a market that we believe is going to continue to grow. We believe it helps parents and students that potentially transportation is a barrier if they are in the online environment by not being able to be transported here because there's no place for them to stay. And then C, we're hopeful that as our sending districts are going to work through some of the challenges that they may be working through, that we can lean in to try to be a solution to some of those challenges as well. So we haven't really gone real far down this road, but before we did that, I just wanted to bring it to your attention and give you an opportunity to ask any questions or raise any concerns that you might have before we go any further.
I think it's a great idea.
Thank you.
Jeff Sleedham here. I like that idea too. And if we just listen to Braden, one of the students of the month, who said he was concerned about how his next year is going to be with the 40-minute drive.
Right.
How whatever end that 40 minutes on, that's an awesome way to serve the young people that we're serving here to help them. To help them. So,
And there are a lot of kids who do thrive online also.
Yes, and if we have students that drive online, I mean, if we have students that are able to transport themselves, then they wouldn't necessarily have to, they can engage at EVIT at right now. Part of this is us trying to build an awareness with our sending districts and our online learners that EVIT is an option and an opportunity for them, even if they aren't in a traditional brick and mortar high school.
I have a question. Well, really two. One is, I know you said it was going to be supervised because we're not going to just put them in a room without supervision. So we're going to have a position to supervise that, correct? Okay,
Correct.
that's excellent. 2, what if we have a sending district who says we have 40 students and we want to send our own teacher to your campus to work with those 40 students?
So absolutely, that would be an option for us to
Okay.
pursue. Ideally, truthfully, that's probably the best case scenario,
Right.
because I think then the students have direct access to the instructor that works with them or would be working with them at their home school. So absolutely, and if we need to have separate spaces, we could certainly do that as well. Our hope is that we are providing solutions to the sending districts that lessen their angst about sending students here. So we'll cover the cost of supervision. We're not going to charge rent. It's really an opportunity for us to try to provide a service and a solution that we think is going to increasingly become a larger segment of the market share.
Okay, so my next question is, does that mean that we should probably look at building out some shell space instead of leaving it shell? I just have to why we're there.
So it's interesting you bring that up because this is totally different. But we've talked several years ago before we began the project out at the Power Road that as that project began to kind of cycle towards completion, we would begin remodeling the main campus because we talked before about how this really hasn't had much done to it in 20 plus years. In part of that conversation, the question then cycled back to power. Are we going to do the 3 stories in the one area, and are we going to have that empty space that's there? And the decision the board made was yes. What that doesn't do, unless we finish it, is it doesn't provide us a bunch of extra space there because currently the build out is going to get captured with enrollment pretty quickly. And so we will bring back to the governing board in the power expansion when we get to that point, the completion and the build out of that shell space, whether it's to be utilized for something like this or even to be utilized in our partnerships with ASU, for example. I know that ASU's interested in having shared space, and this may be an opportunity to kind of capture both relationships in a real positive way by building that shell space out.
Is it okay if I ask Mr. Casaros a question?
It's America.
It is America. So here's my question for you. Your enrollment as of for next year, you were telling me classes are looking good. Are you full on that Power campus?
We're almost full. We're not completely full, but we're trending that way. We're over 930 students, I think, right now, which is what we've been the last 2 years. So we're on track, and it's not even April yet. So students
And
are
we
still
haven't
applying.
even done this yet.
Yeah.
No, we haven't even done this, and it's not. I was going to bring it up at the end, but part of the concern that we have is that we also haven't done our virtual expo yet, and we're anticipating having probably in the neighborhood of 1,500 to 1,600 participants in that expo. So there's a very real possibility that we'll have much larger numbers than what we were anticipating. As a reminder, we built the budget on a 10% decline in enrollment, and we're trending towards being at or above where we were this year. And this year was, we built the budget this year a 4% decline, and we were above. We had a positive growth. So I think that the need for space is going to be a reality, both here and both at Power. And just while we're on the conversation, there probably is value in a near future of thinking about future expansion at Power besides the shell space, just simply because I do think that segment's going to grow.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Casaros. You can stay there in case we have something for you later.
Any other questions? So our goal is when Mr. Kelbo comes back, he and I will work together to craft communication and contact with our sending district superintendents and allow them to begin understanding the opportunity that we're providing. It's really hopeful for us that this is seen as a solution to a potential issue for them, problem for them. So in no way is it intended to be anything other than helpful. So we'll bring that back to you once we get that process going, but I just want to make sure you're aware of it before we went down that road. Item B, completion ceremony. So if you all remember, it was in March of last year that we went on spring break, and we didn't have students back on our campus again until August 17th of this year. And so we had to finish the fourth quarter online, and us and every other high school in America had to finish the fourth quarter online. And one of the real challenges for us last year was we wanted to look for ways to celebrate our students and the work that they accomplished, but we knew that our traditional completion ceremony wasn't going to be an option. And so we, put together a parade of success. And given the realities that we were facing last year, I'm very complimentary and proud that we did that. In fact, that was probably my son's most memorable end of the year experience, because what he experienced at his home high school was nothing like that. So I'm very appreciative that we did that. But when we started this year, our goal was to be back in a position to have a traditional completion ceremony again. And, it was hard and difficult in August, September, October, because we just didn't know what it was going to look like. So we were kind of running both tracks of a completion ceremony, another parade. What was it going to look like? Last year, we had planned to have our completion ceremony at Sloan Park. Years prior, we had always gone to Tempe Diablo Stadium, and that wasn't going to be an option for us last year. And so we had a relationship and a commitment with Sloan Park, and obviously, they let us out of that because of the pandemic. So we reached back out to Sloan Park late fall, early winter, and started the discussion again about a completion ceremony. And at the time, they were very receptive, and they still are, for us to have a completion ceremony, a traditional completion ceremony at Sloan Park. The challenge at the time is that they were obligated to have certain capacity rules. And so based on their potential numbers of capacity, they had a threshold of only allowing us to have a certain amount between students and parents and staff. And what that meant is that they were suggesting that we would have to have 3 completion ceremonies. And about 600 students, because we have about 17, almost 1,800 students that are completing. We know that not all those students will show up, but you got to plan like they are, because if you plan like they're not, then you're going to, maybe be in a bit of a spot. So they were suggesting 3 completion ceremonies. The governor last Friday lifted some of the COVID restrictions, and some of those restrictions were around capacity. So in conversation with Sloan Park at the end of last week, they're of the opinion that potentially we could take that 3 and make it 2 and possibly 1. Now, there's some advantages and disadvantages to 2 and 1. And, one of the advantages of having 1 completion ceremony is it's really kind of awesome to see everybody there at one time. And we are one EVIT. And if, those of you who haven't participated, when you look down on the state in the field, and you see literally thousands of students all in their home high school caps and gowns, it gives you a visual representation of the impact I think that we have, or the potential impact we have across the East Valley. So I think that the advantages of having 1 is that it's actually kind of cool. Also, we only have to do it 1 time, obviously, but that means that, we only have to have 1 set of volunteers, 1 set of setup, 1 set of takedown, and that, the logistics of it are significant. So to only have to do it 1 time would be really beneficial. Some disadvantages of the 1 time are that currently Sloan doesn't know if they can do 1 ceremony and have all students at 1 time on the field and not have to have the mask mandate. Now, we're going to talk about that again in the next section. I should have cycled these differently, but the executive order that was issued last Friday does not lift the mask mandates from schools. It does change through the CDC guidelines, some social distancing and from 6 to 3. But currently what Sloan Park is suggesting, and again, this is all subject to change, but what they're suggesting is that if we have 1 ceremony, that they could get all students on the field, but there may be the requirement of having the students wear masks. What we've asked them is if we separate it to 2 ceremonies, are we able to have enough social distancing that we could potentially not have the mask mandate if that's an option for us to pursue? But beyond that, I think one of the advantages of beginning to think about 2 ceremonies is that we're increasingly coming to a point in time in which we're going to need to. We're at 1,800 this year. We just talked about, Mr. Casaro just talked about how his numbers are growing. We're talking about how the main campus numbers are growing. And so, 1,780, 1,800, 1,850 completers in 1 night is really a lot. And the time is a lot. So, we're pursuing both plans and are going to have more conversation with Sloan Park hopefully this week. But I'm interested in your perspective, individual or board, in terms of the 1 or the 2, or just to get your thoughts so we can know as we start our conversations more intently with Sloan, what maybe is a better approach from your perspective.
Sloan Park's not a school district, though.
They what?
It's a school
It's-
sponsored event, though.
No.
I'm sorry?
Okay, I just said Sloan Park's a baseball field.
So one of the challenges with that is if we're having a school event, and truthfully, you know, one of the things that we're trying to work through with them is that what requirements do they have with MLB in terms of their
Right.
needing to make sure that they're upholding whatever protocols they placed with MLB. Now, the way things have unfolded, you know, 6 weeks in COVID life is a long time. You know, 6 weeks from now, we could have no mandates and no masks and nothing. And, you know, the landscape looks very different. 6 weeks from now, we could have something that reverts us back. I know, but we just don't know. And that's the challenge with it, right? We're trying to make plans because we can't wait till May to start orchestrating this. We're trying to make plans based on these kind of different parallels.
I actually like 2 graduations, and I like Power and Maine. We've created 2 separate campuses. It's time for us now to start the rivalry and pick our mascots.
The rivalry.
That is part of the high school fun.
It is.
If you guys all think back to high school, that is part of it, is that rivalry and competing against each other and having Power and Maine, and you're one school district, no difference than Mountain View and Westwood, but they sure do enjoy their rivalry and the fun competition. So I'm all for 2, but I don't want it to be AM, PM. I would rather it be Power and Maine.
So as a little sidebar, whenever
But I want mascots.
whenever I talk to Mr. Casaro about Power Campus, he always refers to it as the flagship in the organization, his campus. When I talked to Mr. Fisher about the main campus, and I mentioned that Mr. Casaro said, you know, Power's the flagship, Mr. Fisher said, well, of course you could be the flagship if you've got 30 students out there. Why couldn't you? So to your point, there's already the rivalry that's starting.
Yes.
The challenge with it is, and Power is going to grow, I believe, in the next 5 years significantly. When we look at our number of 1,780 potential completers, it breaks down about 400 or 500 from Power, and then about 11 or 12 from Maine. And so one of the possibilities is to keep Power, but pull some other programs over that would be consistent. Or else we've not changed necessarily the magnitude of the amount between one and the other. Meaning, we would have a graduation of 1,200 potentially and a graduation of 500, which the balance of that becomes a little bit problematic in terms of just the nights. But I agree.
I still
think
like it.
I think two truly makes sense,
I think
truthfully.
That reduces the big number enough to where we got a chance. Spring training's over by then, so we don't have MLB problem at all. And I think the size of that venue, I think the campuses have their own graduation. I think
It's
that's
also different
excellent.
people who are involved. Mr. Casaros doesn't have to come to Maine. Mr.
Correct.
Fisher doesn't have to go to Power, right?
Right.
It's different administrators. The only people that are a little more tasked is the district office.
Of course.
Sorry.
No, and believe me, we've gone through multiple scenarios, and that's one of them. And I'm not necessarily opposed to it. There are just some logistical concerns that have to get ironed out. You know, we're working on the possibility of having a guest speaker. If who we settle on, we'd like them to be able to do both nights. You know, I think that would be helpful.
Let them compete.
No, they'll like it. You'll like them.
Okay.
You'll like them. Other thoughts on completion ceremonies?
I'm excited about it. The biggest completion ceremony I ever went to was my high school. That was 200. That was pretty big back then. But I like Ms. Doolin's thought. 2 separate ceremonies, one at Power, one at Maine. And then we can then have a grudge match, wrestling match between the principals of both of those places sometime later on.
That would be great in sumo suits.
And some date in the future, there may be a venue that becomes available in the southeast part of the valley. There, we would have 2 separate
Locations.
at 2
Correct.
different locations.
And that's ideally where we would like to get to, because I think that's in fairness to the Power
I think
campus.
they'll be there in
Yeah.
4 to 5 years,
I
no
think so,
problem.
too. Other thoughts?
I would like to add, having 2 ceremonies makes sense to me too. I very much like that. I realize it's more work, particularly for the administration, but I would go down for 2 ceremonies.
No one's biting on my mascots.
Yeah, that was like the joint.
Mascot idea, I really like the mascot idea.
Yeah, I do too. I don't mind that at all.
Mascots, well, now everybody likes mascots.
She
Oh,
said
yeah.
mask on ideas.
No, not masks on, no, we want to see faces, smiling, happy faces.
Okay, so we will continue to pursue Sloan Park. We will look at a two.
Where is Sloan Park, by the way? I don't know where that's at.
It's the Cubs Stadium,
It's Riverview.
right here, Riverview.
Oh, Wrigley Field East or
Yeah.
West or whatever they call it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, that'd be
Cubs
great.
Stadium.
We will pursue having two. Tentatively, I believe it would be the 2 nights between the 17th, 18th, and 19th of May. 2 of those 3 nights is when we would have them. So we'll work with Sloan, and we'll do our darndest to get power separated from
Well, you
Maine.
still have the old stadium in Mesa with the smaller group from Power. Perhaps you could hold
The
them
whole
concurrently.
Stadium.
Comp Stadium would accommodate that number.
Well, the good thing is I give Sloan, I give the Cubs a lot of credit because they've been very cooperative and user-friendly with us. I mean, they've said, look, if we need to do it in 5 nights, we're gonna charge you one price for 1 night, or we're gonna charge you the same price if you gotta break it up in 5 nights. And so they've been actually really
They
good
get our
partners,
business.
which has been very helpful. Okay, so we will continue to pursue that possibility. Make sure, though, you're starting to block out either the 17th, 18th, or 19th, and then obviously you are all free to attend all of them, or you may decide that you want to split up the duties. I'll let you guys decide that, but kind of put that on your calendar, and we'll get firm with the Cubs Stadium hopefully by the end of this week, first part of next week. Last but most certainly not least, in the discussion, item C, Governor's March 25th executive order. We've touched on this, and I know there was some conversation that others have had. And obviously, the governor has lifted most of the mandates across the state, but what has yet to be lifted are those mandates that are directly connected to schools. There's some conversation that may also get lifted before the school year is over. And so until that's lifted, we're expected and obligated to follow the order, which is the masks, and I appreciate everybody doing that. But what I would suggest from you or to you is that between now and whatever time that happens, that we take the opportunity to get some feedback and input from our constituents, from our students and our parents and our staff. Obviously, whatever input we get, it doesn't bound you or bind you in making decisions. But I guarantee you, if the governor lifts the order, we'll have individuals asking, are we requiring masks? Is it optional? What choice is it? And that will be a you decision, not a me decision. And I would suggest us taking the time on the front end to get you some information so that you have the ability to make a decision, an informed decision, if and when that mask order is lifted by the governor. So we're not trying to pull together an emergency meeting and having big discussions. We can be proactive and be in a position of making a decision that should the order be lifted, this is what the direction the district will take. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Then we will pursue.
Are we my curiosity, we have a set of return to school COVID mitigating policies that we put into place.
Correct.
The CDC has changed the requirements. We need to revise that policy.
Fair.
Because we don't need to, the policy, just a couple, that we've gone from 6 feet to 3
To
feet.
3.
That's happened. The encouragement of students to be able to take masks off under certain circumstances, such as sports or outside, is now approved, and the AIA is even allowing that. As well as there is a new subset that says for any remaining portion of the subset of students, schools should make individualized determinations as required by federal disability laws in order to determine if an exemption of the mask requirement is necessary or appropriate for a particular student. I bring this to your attention because some of our sending school districts are allowing parents to waive that now that that's in writing. If the parent says, my child,
CDC, you have Arizona
this
Department of
is,
Health Services.
I understand that, but the recommendation is that you follow CDC guidelines in the executive order. The CDC guidelines are now allowing that option. I would like us to entertain that option.
So what we can do is we can survey our students, staff, and parents just to get input and feedback from them. And we can also draft an update on our back to school that we can bring for discussion the next time we're together as well. And then have an open discussion based on that information as a governing board, so that, you know, my goal with it is whatever decision the governing board makes, I'd like to be on the front end of it, not the back end. And I know that when the order was lifted on Friday, we spent quite a bit of time, not just we, but all schools, trying to figure out what that meant. And I'd rather be in a position that we understand what we're going to do. So if it is presented to us, we can do that and continue to operationalize and move forward as the organization. So we'll do the surveying and we'll bring back that information, the updated return to school policy at our next meeting for discussion for the governing board.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I just feel like if we did the CDC guidelines for the policy, now that they've changed, we need to re-examine.
So unless there are questions for me, that concludes items A, B, and C.
Are there any questions? Moving on to agenda item 8A, policy revisions. Originally, I believe Kevin Colbell was going to address the board. I assume now it's you, Dr. Wilson? Is that correct?
Mr. President, members of the governing board, I would be happy to do the best I can. I know that Kevin had previously provided some information about the policies, as he indicated that it's not, as he indicated that a lot of it was cleanup as he's gone through our policy manual in areas that there's duplication or inconsistency. But we are fortunate enough to have on our screen Director of Legal Services that would be happy to answer any questions. Thank the Lord for technology.
There he is.
I was going to give another word salad and get out of it.
The policies that you need to approve are all just in response to the new payroll programs and the contract programs we have that eliminated the need to use that old 4-part form to request a leave. So they all really relate to just bringing the policy in compliance with the new software programs that we have. We're just basically just eliminating a form.
Are there any questions? Dr. Wilson, or maybe Kevin can answer it. Is one of those policies the one that bothered me about pepper spray and stun guns being carried by students?
That's actually a regulation that falls under the weapons policy, and the board doesn't actually have to approve regulations. That's a superintendent's job to make the regulations to carry out board policy. But you can certainly tell us you don't like the regulation, and we can come up with a new one.
It's not so much that I don't like it. I'm concerned. I remember particularly girls when they fight, they're apt to do anything. I mean, if they had stun guns, I could see them using them on each other.
Well, yeah, the policy doesn't permit them to display them or show them on campus. They can possess them, but the only time they can take them out is if they actually need them. If they bring them out for any of the reasons you're suggesting, that would be subject to discipline.
Is this the parents that are concerned, or are the students actually that afraid while they're on our campus?
It's only came up because one student had a pepper spray on her keychain, which she left. She put her keys on her desk, and that brought to our attention that the district policy, the adult ed handbook, and the student handbook were not all sending the same message. And since the board policy doesn't ban pepper spray or non-projectile stun guns, we drafted the regulation to allow those two things only as self-defense items on campus. I think there is some concern among parents about their, kids going out to the parking lot at night, when they're alone.
There should be.
They should be. I agree there. But in any event, that's not part of what we're approving now anyway.
Correct.
Okay. I have no further questions. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the revised policies.
A second.
Do I have a second?
Freedom
Is there any
second.
discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Boggs, will you call for the vote?
Yes. Lane,
Aye.
Doolin,
Aye.
Park,
Aye.
Fleedham,
Aye.
Boggs is an aye. Covington,
Aye.
Hobson,
Aye.
Watkins.
Aye. Motion carried. That brings us to 8B, the use of cooperative contracts. Do I have a motion?
Also move. I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Boggs, will you call for the vote?
Yes. Lane,
Aye.
Doolin,
Aye.
Park,
Aye.
Fleedham,
Aye.
Boggs is an aye. Covington,
Aye.
Hobson,
Aye.
and Watkins.
Aye. Motion carried. Moving on to agenda item 9 is the superintendent's report. Dr. Wilson?
Mr. President, members of the governing board, just 2 items quickly. In your backup, there is an update by our lobbyist. Obviously, the legislative session is still ongoing. When I had an opportunity to talk to Megan last week, she said the challenge, and this happens in every legislative session, is the budget being negotiated, and that oftentimes legislation that is passed or is potentially trending towards being passed may not necessarily become final simply because it doesn't get part of the budget. She is of the opinion that the financial outlook is much better in Arizona than many other states and much better than what was initially projected. So there's the possibility of more funding, not just for education, but for programming across the board. But she said in some cases, some bills will sit, and even though they've passed or heading towards passing, will sit and die simply because there's not the funding. She apologizes for not being able to be here tonight. She teaches a class at ASU, but she's going to get a sub for April, and then she'll join us for dinner and then be available to talk individually, but also present to the governing board. She did provide to you kind of an overview of a lot of the different potential legislation that would impact us, but just some that would potentially impact schools in general. And so she again says she's apologized that she couldn't make it tonight, but she looks forward to seeing you next meeting, 2 meetings. Then last but most certainly not least,
Dr. Wilson?
Sir.
I have a point I want to make on their report. On Bill HB 2243, she has, I know she grabbed the summary from the Senate Legislative Council, and frequently what's misunderstood about the universal recognition is that it has something to do with reciprocity, and there's nothing about reciprocity in that. Reciprocity would assume that the state of Arizona has entered into a legal agreement with another state, and that's not the case. What Arizona has done with that legislation is anybody that has a license from another state that matches Arizona's, those people are allowed, provided that license is in good standing, to get a license in Arizona. They have to pay the fees, but that's a case, and that it's not reciprocity. Reciprocity is a legal nightmare. So
okay.
So it's considerably different than that. So for estheticians or cosmetologists that's licensed in New Mexico, if their license is in good standing, they can come to Arizona and they can get their license. They just have to pay whatever fee. They don't have to go through
Becomes Arizona
they don't have to
license.
go through the experience again. It's like, oops, like electricians. Like all of a sudden I forgot how to be an electrician when I came from
A lot of times
Ganado.
those states have the same type of testing too. So it might
Well,
be
actually,
the same.
yeah, in certain things, but many things they do not. So.
Some things, cosmetology
So.
does.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
Are there any other comments?
I just have one more item, if there's time on that, on the update. So the governing board was proactive in approving contracts sooner rather than later, and that was so that we could be in a position to have a greater opportunity to attract and retain staff. So contracts are due today, the end of at 11:59 this evening. And so just kind of an update on our retention. one of the things we've said organizationally is for us to become who we expect ourselves to be, we've got to first be able to attract and retain the staff that we believe is in the best interest of our students. Back in 2016, 2017, we had a 76% retention as an organization. 17 and 18, we had an 82%. 18 and 19, an 84%. 19 and 20, an 89%. And it is appearing as if we will have at least a 92% or better retention rate this year. And so the point I'm making is, A, I appreciate the governing board's willingness to be proactive and get contracts out sooner rather than later. But B, the idea of us being able to be in a position where, A, we know the positions we need to fill sooner rather than later. B, when we talked about expansion and growing, we may be having to add staffing that we weren't expecting to have. And so this gives us an opportunity to better understand both the backfill, but also the new hiring that needs to be done. But I think more than that, when we start talking about, how do we build consistency in the delivery of outcome expectation and instruction in our organization, every time we turn staff over, it makes it more difficult. And so being able to be in a position to retain staff is, I think, in a measurable way, is, I think, a huge step in the right direction towards us becoming who we expect ourselves to be. And so I wanted to make sure the governing board was aware, but also to say thank you for taking the ability and the opportunity to give contracts out as soon as you did. Very much appreciate it. So that concludes the superintendent's reports.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. That brings us to agenda item 10, closing and the calendar. Do any board members have any agenda items to add to the April 12th, I believe it is, April 12th board meeting?
Is our next meeting the 12th or the 26th? So it's the 12th.
12.
I have the 12th.
I just didn't know, isn't there like weird a number of Mondays in April?
I won't be here on the 26th,
Maybe it is the 12th, I
although
don't
I
know.
could do it by Zoom.
Is it the 12th? All right.
I'd like to bring up something to add, if that's okay. I'm not sure exactly how this process works.
Who's speaking? I can't
No,
tell
excuse
who's
me, Jeff
speaking.
Fleetum.
Okay.
Okay. I almost said the director, but I'm not. So here, we use in my agency we use Drupal for our website, and then we use Google. It moves into Google Analytics for all of our metrics and those type of things. What are we using here for our measurements as far as measuring impressions, bounce rates, click-through, et cetera, to make certain that our social media, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, that we're really reaching the people that we need to do, or what kind of changes that we need to do to make. So I'm most interested if we can, whether we do it on a monthly or a quarterly, to have some sort of report from our group of folks that are responsible for that, telling us what our impression rates are, bounce rates, and click-through are, that type of thing. And what we're using for our analytics.
Absolutely. Actually, we're going to have at our next meeting kind of an update from our public relations department, and that'll be included in it.
Yeah, and I think it would be great if we had something like that, whether it be quarterly or every other month or something like that. So, thank you.
I agree.
I would like to add a mascot on the next agenda. I would like it to be, I don't know why you're all laughing.
Was that mask off?
Mascot. I think it would be really fun,
Clever, clever.
and the students deserve a mascot.
Could have a competition, trying.
We have, just because they're
Do
not
they
sports.
really want mascots? I don't know.
Yes,
Do they?
It's,
Do
yes, and it's not a sports competition, but they compete in skills, they're separate, it's HOSA.
Listen, I'm not anti-mascot. I never knew if it would.
They can even
All
have
right.
a competition within the school, a drawing, design.
Yeah, let them pick their mascot.
I'm not a wet
Put
blanket.
it on
I'm
the
just,
agenda.
Right, there's, some of the students here at EVIT are currently involved in helping the Register of Contractors design their new hard hat.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal. And we give hard hats to the registrar as awards for a variety of different things, and they're helping us do that. So they would probably be more than willing to help us design a mascot with its mask off.
Yeah, no masks on the mascot.
I'm not opposed at all to mascots. and the students should decide.
I've been trying to get a mascot here since 2009, just so everybody knows.
Do you have any suggestions?
No, I think the students should decide. I think it would be a fun competition and a way to engage them. And they're really tired of not being engaged. I mean, COVID is really, so this is a way to excite them.
Isn't that how Scottsdale ended up with the artichokes?
And maybe we will be the eggplants.
We
could be broccoli.
They should decide.
To know, I was instrumental in that first semester at Scottsdale Community College. That's where we went, and that's where we came up with the artichoke. But our school colors that we picked were plaid, and they wouldn't let us use that. So I think they ended up with pink and green for a while. But so I'm all about artichokes. So.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Then moving on to 10B.
Also move.
Ah, there we go.
Did I hear a second?
I'll second that one.
Can I call for a voice vote?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We're adjourned.
Thank you all for your time tonight.